Hi, Todd Profit again. This is for Digital Tools 2, and this is the second video I'm doing on apps for entertainment technology professionals. Today, right now, I want to focus on Carpentry and T and some rigging apps. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some different apps. I'm going to show you a little bit about what they do. This is by no means a tutorial, and most of them you're going to see are free. Honestly, I'm not going to have prices for today, so you will have to look those up. I am focusing on iOS today, but I do know that some of these apps are available for Android as well. So let's start with my first rigging app, iRigging. This is one I've had for a really long time. It's by J.R. Clancy. It's they're a reputable rigging company, and they've got some pretty handy tools that you can use. First, you have to choose Imperial or Metric, and then it's got wire rope tools. It's got arbor tools, block tools, fleet angle tools, and different things for stage rope. So for battens, allowable batten roll loads, you can go in and change a few settings there. And then you can, for wire rope, different wire rope strengths and weaknesses, and some other tools. I do want to hit on the arbors real quick. You can calculate, do different arbor calculations. Like I said, this is all free. It's obviously they also do they have a service link too to talk about their different their different services, or you can request service from one of their systems. But iRigging is a handy tool, and I've definitely pulled it out of my pocket for a few projects over the years. There are other rigging apps out there. Most of them are designed not necessarily for theatrical rigging. They're designed for rigging things like with cranes and stuff like that. But I'll tell you, they're just as useful for us as too. You just have to go and do a search for rigging. The next one I want to talk about is just joists and joist calculations. I think this is handy for building, but it also help you figure out sort of what your truss is, and will help give you some of those the sort of the maximum loads, stress allowed, and things like that. Quick and handy dandy app. I always recommend, though, I mean, if you know how to do you need to know how to do the calculations, okay? And definitely double check the work of any app you grab, because now if you don't understand this and the forces behind and the math behind it, don't rely on this app without knowing it. You're going to run the risk of maybe putting something in wrong or not understanding something. So please, 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 if you use an app like this, make sure you understand the stuff behind it. But this is a great way to help you figure out things a little easier if you do know that math itself. iTruss is another one. Again, that's just for figuring out different. Sorry, let's close the tutorial out. But it's a great way to figure out spans and loads based on different types of actual truss you can use. And again, a very handy rigging app. But again, make sure you know the math behind it. Don't just blindly follow any app that you're going to use. Okay. Next one I've got is, I'm going to go ahead and I'll come back to that one. Next one is hydraulics. Now, hydraulics is one I know nothing about, but what this is a way to figure out different force loads using a hydraulic. This is designed for automation. I came across this because it was actually designed by someone in the theater and someone who uses it for theatrical applications, which is one of the reasons I recommend it over the years. Another automation one that I found just today that I don't know much about, but figuring out, and again, this was made specifically for theatrical automation, and it's for figuring out different accel times and decel times based on speed. And again, not something I know a lot about, but if you do know, it's going to help you figure those things out. Let's get into some building. Molding app is one that's always really handy to have. Just trying to figure out what angles you need to make when cutting those. It saves you some time in sort of figuring out, doing some of the math. Another one like that, this is one of my favorites. This is made by the same guy who makes hydraulics. And again, it's a theater person who did this, figuring out the slope and sides. So you can stick in, let me just put some numbers in here. Number of sides, let's go a 6-sided object with a slope of, let's just go 10 degrees. And we'll hit calculate. Okay, it's going to show you what angles you set your table saw at, and then we'll show you how it will all sort of go together there. At the end, you can do unsloped or slope, angle, unequal four sides, and you can figure those out as well. But a great way to figure out boxes in different size shapes that you need, because we obviously do a lot of different ones in theatrical settings. Some other building ones that are favorites of mine. Let's start with Balustrade Pro. This is one I've had for a long time. Figuring out not only stairs, but also the balusters for stairs, flat, different ones. But let me just click into one of these. But you put in your different stair angles and stuff like that, and it will calculate how far apart things are. And then actually, I believe if you hit view, eventually it will show you. It will show you just a quick view of how apart everything is. But you got to put in stuff to do that. That's Balustrade Pro. There are other ballustard. I don't know how to pronounce that. So there are many other apps out there. That's just one I climbed onto a long time ago. This is again another stair building app. It does the railings and stuff like that as well. But you can go in there, and once you put in all your numbers, it'll actually show you what it's going to look like and what the rise and run's going to be. I have used apps like this before. I was building a set of stairs for my backyard and found them to be really handy just to sort of figure some things out, some math out ahead of time. Some other tools that we want to look at, if you're figuring out lumbercalc. I haven't played with this one very much. I just downloaded it, but it's got a lumber calculator, compound miter calculator, does areas and surfaces for you, but it also has paint, which I thought was really kind of cool. It's got some basic conversions, and again, this app was lumbercalc. Some other things you're going to need is you need different tools. This is just a simple plumb bob. You can use your phone as a plumb bob. That's one that I've had for years as well. Here's a toolbox. It's got a bunch of those. It's got a plumb bob, but it's also got a seismometer, which is not we're not going to use a lot here, but it does have a split level, a ruler, and the protractor is the one that I've used. I do use those quite a bit, and you can help figure out different angles. Obviously, there's a pro version of this, which you get a few more features and you get rid of ads, which is kind of handy. On my phone, I've always had one of those on there ready to go. I want to show you the Bosch real quick. I had used it a few years ago and I re-downloaded it today just because I knew it had a few tools that I thought were more than just... obviously, Bosch, it gives you information about their tools and which tools you use, but it's got a pretty good little unit converter on it, and photo dimensions tools. You can actually take a picture of something and then figure out measurements based on that, or you can record measurements, which I think is just handy when you're like going to the lumber store and stuff like that, or you're trying to figure stuff out. And that's sort of a few apps on there that I liked. Okay, this HomePro is one that I've had again for a while. It does a lot of different things. It's got carpentry, it's got electric stuff, it's got hours estimation, which I think is kind of interesting. But you know, if you need information about framing and stuff like that, you can just click on that. I'm trying to look for, but it's got woods and materials. This has got common woods, board foot cost calculators. This thing is just chock full of F's, and I don't remember how much it was. It was not very expensive at all. That's HomePro. One of the other things that you need is you need a good calculator. And the first one I'll show you. Oops, sorry, I already showed you that one. Here's a good feet and inches. Here's a feet and inches calculator. This is one I just bought, but when you're just trying to figure things out, it makes life a lot easier if you don't have to figure it out. You can just punch the numbers in. The other one I wanted to show you real quick before we go, another calculator. It's just a fraction calculator, and I use this is my favorite. Fraction Plus, I think is what it's called. There's a free version and a paid version. I went and paid for it, helping my son with math homework. The fraction calculator really does come in handy, and it's super easy to use. But I'll highly recommend that one as well. All right, that's just my quick overview of some TD and Carpentry apps. You might be thinking, oh, I want drafting in here and I also want some knots. I'm going to do those in a later video. All right. Thank you so much.